This is Impact Play with Dr. J, where sports, entertainment, philanthropy, and purpose meet. I'm your host, Dr. J, and every story here is about using your platform to create real change. Stick around and let's get into it. All right, so welcome to Impact Play with Dr. J. Again, where sports, entertainment, and community impact collide. I am your host, Dr. J. You can call me whatever you would like, but I got my name butchered the other day, and so we're just going to roll with Dr. J today. Today's guest is someone who has made really big impact on the field, in the studio, and now in the community. I'm super excited to have this guest on. He is such an amazing person from the field at The Ohio State University with the Buckeyes, to becoming a public figure, artist, entrepreneur. He's doing all the things, y'all. And so now he's an author and a documentary producer. We'll get all into that, but he is super proof. He is proof that the game is just the beginning of everything. And so we're going to dive into his evolution and the power of relationships and how he's using his platform to inspire the next generation. So I would love to welcome Mekka Don to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you for lending us your time. Let's start off so that the listeners get to know you a little bit better with some quick fire questions. So just go with your gut on these, all right? So favorite memory wearing the OSU jersey?
Running out into the horseshoe. That was running out with 100,000 fans screaming. Nothing like it. Nothing like it.
As a person that has been on that field in the band capacity, there is nothing like being in the shoe.
100%.
100%. So if your life was a sports movie, what would the title be?
Oh, wow. Wow.
I know, I got a good one.
That's a good one. My life was a sports movie. I would say, I'll probably try to jazz it up a little bit, but something to the effect of like Field of Dreams, the sequel, going for my dream. I don't know, something, dream on, something about dreaming. I think it would be in the title.
I can see that about you. Okay. So what is your game day anthem or go-to track?
Well, this year it was Buckle Up.
Right.
But I think I like real hype music. So I'm a DMX guy. So anything DMX gets me going.
Really?
I'm trying to get real hype. Oh yeah. Big DMX fan.
Okay. All right. Dream collaboration, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably Tupac.
Really?
Energy wise, even voice wise, not like exactly, but I think kind of the type of tone and energy that we have in songs, I think would match really well. And then just a passion. We're both really passionate. So I think that would be amazing.
That's dope. And I ask every guest that come on Impact Play, one word that defines your purpose right now.
One word that defines my purpose.
Dr. J's going to hit you with these deep ones,
Yeah, I think it'd be inspiration. I think everything that I do is really geared towards, related to the word inspiring. So I would say inspiration.
I would have to agree, knowing you as a person. So let's rewind a little bit for the listeners. So back to Ohio State days. What were your dreams at the time? And were you already thinking beyond football?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I came into Ohio State as a preferred walk-on, and I'd only played football 1 year in high school.
Wow.
So I was fortunate enough to get recruited, partially because my team was so good. And we had a lot of other guys that were getting recruited. So people would come and they would kind of see me like, hey, who's that fast wide receiver on the outside? And that's kind of how it happened. But also I had an academic scholarship to Ohio State. So it made a lot of sense for me to go pursue my academic opportunity at Ohio State, but then also the opportunity to walk on at Ohio State. That's like a dream come true for a kid.
Yeah.
But I also was very realistic, being the fact that I had only played football for 1 year in high school. By the time I got to Ohio State, I was still learning the game. There were certain things I still didn't even know about the game. I was just very athletic and smart, right?
Yeah.
And so I realized that, going to the NFL, that wasn't necessarily my dream. It wasn't my childhood dream. I didn't grow up playing football. I was a soccer player.
Okay.
So but I realized the value of the opportunity. One, to just kind of, wear the scarlet and gray, be a part of that brotherhood, as we call it, the networking, obviously what it does for your profile, and then the experiences and taking those in. So I had a very realistic outlook when I went in on what this was going to be for me. And I was very intentional in making sure that I tried to capitalize on everything that I was able to capitalize on while I was there.
We're going to keep going back and forth to that word intentional throughout our talk today. So when did you feel that pull towards something bigger than the game?
I think that I had always, growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 kids.
Uh-huh.
And, I was the kid breakdancing for people in the neighborhood when I was 4. Like, that's literally my story. So I think there was always kind of a desire for me to be on stage, right? And, I used to do like commercial modeling and stuff like that when I was young, 10 or 12, like started kind of early and not like aggressively, but just always finding my way on stage. And then being an athlete, I played multiple sports growing up and, lots of levels of success. I was a state champion in soccer and in high school, state champion in football
I didn't know
as
that.
well. And also went to the States in track. So it was, I was kind of used to the stage, if that makes sense. And, but I'd always had a deep appreciation for the arts, whether it was music or acting or, obviously sports.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of felt like that was ultimately going to be something that I was going to pursue. But I also came from a very educated family. My parents have 10 degrees between the two of them.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. And then my brother is a doctor and a lawyer.
Wow.
He's the oldest. My sister's a doctor, and then my next sister's a lawyer, and then it's me. So I always knew education was going to be important. And but I always knew I was going to find my way back to that stage some way. So that was something that was developed in me kind of early on. Yeah. And I knew that, everything that I was doing could potentially help me find my way back to that stage, including being on Ohio State's football team.
That's really dope. I didn't know all that about you with the soccer, and I'm a track runner as well. Fast sprinter, triple jumper, long jumper.
Nice.
So I see it in you. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you were in a lot of different sports. You got the opportunity to go to Ohio State. Was there an emotional or even kind of mental process that when stepping away from that and kind of going a different route, like, okay, now this time is done. What's next?
That's a great question because I didn't play my whole time. I graduated in 3 years from Ohio State, and also didn't play all 3 years. Just played the first year and a half, and then I applied to law school and gotten into law school in New York, and kind of started setting forth my plans to move to New York to go to law school, but also to pursue the entertainment industry. So it was like killing multiple birds with one stone.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I reflected on, I don't think I had ever really thought about it as much back then, how it may have affected me. But once I decided to leave football, that was essentially me leaving competitive sports for good. And I'd been playing competitive sports since I was 4, so there was definitely a transition of just understanding what that means. Like, you're hanging it up, right? Because when you're a young kid and you're athletic and you're, getting recruited and all this other type of stuff, there's always kind of that prospect that this might be what you do as a profession, right? Whether it's football or whether it's track or any other sport.
Yeah.
So I had to come to that realization. Wow, this is over. Now when I play, it's just going to be intramurals or rec or whatever. This is done. And so I had to start thinking about, and simultaneously, you have to start thinking about what adulthood is coming, right? What is that? What does that mean? So now it's not just that you're leaving this kind of lifestyle that you're used to, but you're also transitioning into adulthood and what that means, and living on your own and paying your own bills and making decisions that could impact your life. So that was a very interesting process. I think the beauty for me was that And the reason why the transition wasn't as hard for me as it was for some other people is that I had already kind of come to grips with what my fate was going to be ultimately as
Yeah.
it related to this.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was like, oh man, I'm going pro, and then went through this, many years of trying to go pro and it didn't work out, and then went through with it, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I went through the depression that some of my teammates went through as it related to that. But that doesn't mean the transition wasn't hard. It was still hard, and I still had to make sure that I was, figuring out what the next phase of my life was going to look like.
And that's hard to do at such a young age. I'm a college professor. I always say they're not done cooking yet. Like they're not. So to have that level of intentionality and resolve about this particular part, like kudos to you. It sounds like you just have a really good village around you, kept you grounded. Sometimes I'm working with clients that are going through that transition. So they might have made it to the highest level in whatever sport, and now they're transitioning out for whatever reason. And I see a lot of depression and lashing out, things of that nature. So I just think that, again, what you're saying about intentionality and like being resolute, and having a plan.
Well, you mentioned something too that, if you don't mind, that I think is also important, which is support system, right? And then also kind of who you're around and the expectations for you. And for some guys, I realized that, growing up, this sport, whatever the sport was their way out.
Yeah.
And it was not just their way out, but it was potentially, in some cases,
Everybody's.
their family's way out and everybody around them's way out. And so there's a lot of pressure that also comes with that they may not even realize they're having at 18, 19, 20 years old, like you said, not fully baked yet. And so coming to the grips with that reality, it's like, first of all, their identity, with the way we worship and idolize sports figures in this society, their identity becomes that. That is who you essentially are to the world.
Yes.
And so dealing with the fact that you're no longer that, and not even just in your eyes, but the world's eyes, people do treat you differently. I've seen it.
Yes.
There's a huge difference between a current and a former player in terms of the way people act. Even if it was just retired yesterday, So dealing with that reality, and then also the financial reality, and then the reality of access changing, right? And then how people treat you, how people around you treat you, and not necessarily feeling like you fulfilled your dream as well. That's the other thing. It's a dream that's essentially has died, right? Or maybe deferred or some. But there's a lot that goes on at once that makes those transitions hard. And so I was fortunate enough to, like I said, understand that my purpose wasn't necessarily just that I had a kind of broader kind of opportunities as well. And then also a support system and friends and family that supported me when I was, when I was transitioning as well.
I love to hear it. So this is a great segue into the power of relationships. So like, again, I was talking to you about this earlier. Something that really stands out about you and your story is just your relationships and how, you have used them intentionally and built them and stewarded them. And so, stewardship, people think that because you know people and they know who you are, that's a relationship. No, you have to steward a relationship. Yes. So what relationships did you gain from being at Ohio State, and how did that shape kind of where you went?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to start here. I think one of the things about relationships that people don't realize is you could be or have been around someone or groups of people, situations, circumstances, and many times, and come out of there without having relationships. People think, oh, you were around such and such, just call them. It's like, that's not how relationships work. Right. Yeah, we see each other. We might be friendly and look like we're old friends from, back in the day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean we have a relationship, particularly when you're kind of a public figure or person or celebrity or athlete or whatever. There are a lot of surface relationships that people have that aren't real.
Yes.
So there's a thing that I realized early on, which was that, and this is just how I relate to people, and part of its communication is, if you want to have a relationship with somebody, you have to, it's not just about taking, you also have to give.
Yes.
Right. It has to be reciprocal. At the end of the day, we're in a society where everybody's kind of responsible for themselves. Right. And you realize that nobody's going to necessarily do anything for you.
Right.
So you have to look out for yourself. But in looking out for yourself, you also have to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who, are, of the same energy, are
Mm-hmm.
believe some of the same things that you believe. And then you also have to give, right?
Yes.
So when I was at Ohio State, I realized this, and I tell a lot of young athletes this. That is when you are at your peak a lot of times in terms of how
Yes.
much people actually care about you, talking to you, opportunities. You can literally walk into any business in Columbus, Ohio, and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I'm such and such for Ohio State. I would like an internship here,"
Yep.
and they'll listen. Like
Yep.
literally. So, not to mention all the faculty and just the athletic department and
Mm-hmm.
different corporate relationships that you can build while you're there. So
Yeah.
I wasn't there during the NIL time, so I didn't get to build a ton of corporate
Right.
relationships,
Right.
but I definitely did create relationships in like the president
Mm-hmm.
of Ohio State because I
Mm-hmm.
was on homecoming court. The athletic director, Gene Smith, later, who he wasn't there when I was there, but he came a few years after and developed that relationship. One of my professors,
Mm-hmm.
God rest her soul, Dr. Viola Newton. She was actually
Mm.
edited my first book for me. She was the one that
Oh.
actually wrote my reference letter to get into NYU for law school.
Oh, that's dope.
It was a relationship that I didn't have before I got there, but I built it with her,
Yeah.
not just by being in her class, but following up with her, checking in on her. And years later, she ended up being the one that wrote my recommendation.
Wow.
So those are the type of things that I kind of realized early on, like, wow, these are the power of relationships. And I was able to see how they could
Mm-hmm.
manifest themselves in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Did I
Mm-hmm.
predict that all of this stuff later on, 20 something years later, would happen? Not necessarily, but I was able to see
Yeah.
how the power of relationships could work
Right.
just in that short period of time.
So how do you think like coaches in like the school and the athletic department could kind of better teach this mindset to our young athletes and students?
So I think first of it is by being intentional, right? So it's funny you actually asked this because there's a coach at Ohio State right now, Coach Tim Walton. Actually, I mentioned his name.
Mm-hmm.
He and I have become friendly recently, and he actually wants to bring me in to talk to his kind of the defensive back room about this exact thing.
Wow.
So we're actually literally scheduling to do that hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Good.
And so that's just having the right leaders, right? Who are
Mm-hmm.
forward thinking, who are experienced. Some of them who've played before, right, and who've dealt with some of these issues.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's very helpful. And then being intentional about, not just what product you're creating on the field and what type of player you're creating on the field, but setting these young men up for success, young men and women
Yes.
up for success beyond the field. And so there has to be a certain level of intentionality, I think, individually, coach by coach,
Yeah.
program wide, NCAA wide, and
Mm-hmm.
literally it has to continue to spread. And I think that the programs that are doing that well are actually gaining an advantage
Yep.
over other programs
Mm-hmm.
because kids are right now are starting to become, and some people say it started with LeBron. I don't know, but they're becoming much more intentional about their brand and their
Mm-hmm.
business
Mm-hmm.
and, life after sports and what they're building even during sports. People are doing podcasts regularly.
Right.
You got guys that are like making sure they're in front of the media, doing media training, going to the
Mm-hmm.
ESPN camp and journalism boot camp and doing all of those things now. So I think it's just awareness and then intentionality.
I agree, and I think it starts at the top, but then at the same time, like it has to be a culture at those institutions where these students are. I have the privilege of being a college professor, and I talk to all of my students that you are your brand. How you
Yeah,
make people feel is your brand. And so when you
100%.
come into my class early, late, or you know what I'm saying, like that's my impression of you. That's your brand to me, and I'm your resource. I'm your plug.
100%.
So like those kinds of things. So I love that.
100%. Just on that real quick too, and
Yeah.
that's just going back to what I was saying about my professor who ended up writing my recommendation for NYU. I never missed one of her classes. I was always there on time.
Mm-hmm.
I was always participated. And obviously I got a good grade in the class. But those things, when I went back and actually read the recommendation letter that she wrote,
Mm-hmm.
those are literally the things that she was saying.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, he got a good grade. That's not enough. That's cool. But it was
Mm-hmm.
the other things that speak to your character, speak to your brand, as you said. So that's very important. I
No,
love that you talk to them about that.
Yeah, yep. And I think that every professor should be talking to them about that because it makes it bigger than this class, this grade, this
Yes,
right now. It's just something that could impact you for your future. And at that age, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think always about my future at hand. I was
sure.
kind of sometimes in the moment, right? While I was at
Yep,
Ohio State, I was living my life, right?
sure.
So those
Yeah.
kinds of things. That's what's up. All right, so let's talk about I would love to get an example for listeners of a time that a door was open, not because of your stats or your grades or anything like that, but because of a connection that you built genuinely with a person.
Wow. So, well, I'll give you an okay. So Gene Smith, former athletic director of Ohio State. And interestingly, I don't even remember exactly how Gene and I met, right? And I've been in and around the Ohio State program, obviously, just doing different things. And he was the athletic director at Ohio State, and we had become acquainted, but not necessarily through anything specific. It wasn't like we had done a deal together or I was even a student athlete under his regime.
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward to about 5 years ago, uh, there was the Big Ten conference was starting something called the Equality Coalition, and then they ended up changing it to no. It started off as the Anti-Hate, Anti-Racism Coalition, and then they ended up changing it to the Equality Coalition,
Mm-hmm.
and it was run by Kevin Warren,
Mm-hmm.
who was the commissioner of the Big Ten.
Okay.
It was his idea, his brainchild. He's now the president of the Chicago Bears, and they were looking for members to be part of that committee, and some of the members they were looking for were current students and current student athletes, but they're also looking for alums of each of the kind of member institutions. So I reached out to Gene. I really wanted to be on the coalition, and I reached out to Gene and just asked him if he could kind of put in a good word with Kevin,
Right.
and he did that. And the next thing you know, I'm a member of the coalition, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I was able to build my own relationship with Kevin and the other members. And then eventually they appointed me to be on the executive committee, which was only one of, I think, 10 of us,
Wow.
including Kevin. But that would have never happened had it not been for Gene Smith and his introduction. And rewind a little bit too, which is the question is, why did Gene do that? Gene did that because he believed in my reputation,
Wow.
my abilities, right? My brand.
Yes.
He knew that I would represent him and the university well.
Yes.
He didn't fear that I was going to go in there and
do something crazy. Yeah.
Do anything crazy or so those are things that had been built over years. That relationship with Gene and that trust. Him seeing me in so many different scenarios, right, over the years to where he was confident. And now, and we'll get to this at some point, but now Gene Smith is the person who wrote the foreword for my new book that's coming out. And it's just amazing how these things can kind of continue to grow and snowball. And then, I handled that relationship well. And if I had not handled that relationship well, would he be writing the foreword for my book today? No. So those are the things that I think really, really matter, and making sure you're being intentional.
I feel like we got a word going on here. Okay. So let's talk about the work that you're doing now, because you just kind of touched on that a bit. So you stepped into your voice, the music, entrepreneurship, and so now you have this amazing project dropping, your documentary "Buckle Up," the soundtrack of Champions. And so I want to know about this. Like, what inspired you? I'm so excited about it.
Well, thank you. Wow. So, my main passion is music. It's always been music, and I've always loved everything. Right. I love sports. I loved art. I love being a lawyer. I still like being a lawyer, but music was always the thing that just got me excited. It's the thing that kept me up late. It's the thing that woke me up early.
Yes.
And so over the years, as I, decided when I left corporate America, a big law firm, to kind of pursue my passion in music, over all the ridicule, people calling me crazy and all that type of stuff, I knew that I had something there talent-wise, but I had to develop it and flesh it out. And ultimately, where I think I got my big break from was from ESPN. I ended up getting in touch with their music supervisor and had sent some music to them. And this is years ago, many, many years ago. And they liked the music. And I ended up doing a licensing deal with ESPN that season for college football for 4 songs.
Wow.
And that kind of put me on the map in terms of like a person that you kind of had to at least take somewhat seriously as a musician, especially
Right.
independent.
Right.
And but it also kind of made me realize that my energy was really conducive and what's the word? It fit well within kind of the music space,
Okay.
right? Music and sports space, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
like that intersection. So I
Mm-hmm.
started making anthems, and I ended up getting called back to Ohio State by President Gee.
Oh,
Uh,
gee, bow
yeah,
tie.
yeah. He saw me on MTV because I had won an MTV award, and it was like, and then ESPN. He said, "Look, I keep seeing you on national television, but you're a Buckeye. You need to come do some stuff for us."
Right.
I came back and that kicked off a relationship, and I did some music for Ohio State, and initially a song called Juice in 2013, 14, which became really popular. It became an anthem for the team.
It was
We won
hot,
a
y'all.
national.
It was hot.
Yeah, yeah, Juice was a big one, and then that kind of put me on the map locally and regionally. And then fast forward to last year, I decided I was going to do another anthem, and people have been asking me for years to do one, but I just, I have to be inspired, and I didn't want to get pigeonholed into just like this Ohio State anthem guy. So
Understood.
I ended up writing a song called "Buckle Up," and part of it was I was just motivated by all the guys that were coming back that could have gone to the NFL,
True.
some of the transfers that had come in, obviously Jeremiah Smith coming in, the
Right.
coaches. I just felt like this was going to be the year that we
Mm-hmm.
were going to win. And so that song became an officially licensed Ohio State anthem as well in
Mm-hmm.
July of 2024. And we put it out and the video out, and it kind of started blowing
Mm-hmm.
up right away. So I got with my team and I said, we need to document this,
Yes.
how this goes this season,
Yes.
and this could be an amazing thing for even just my fans and to put together for later on, no matter how the season goes.
Right.
But I also thought if it was a national championship season, somehow this would be like the most amazing story ever, right? So we started filming early, before the season even started. And I'll give you a little nugget to how the documentary is going to start. The documentary has Shelly Meyer 2 days before the season starts. She saw me perform Buckle Up.
Mm.
She makes a comment that says, I just got done watching Mekka Don perform his new anthem, Buckle Up. And trust me, I understand the expectations of this season are high. I've been through that. But this song is going to be the song that carries us all the way through the season.
Oh.
I get chills even thinking about it.
Yes.
2 days before the season even starts.
Wow.
And lo and behold, it ended up being that, right?
Being
So
the
it's the
year.
song they went out to every game, and it exploded. Not even just that. I mean, I performed it nationally on Fox Big Noon Kickoff. It became a PSA. The song Buckle Up became a PSA amongst different sheriffs in Ohio, and for National Safety Day. I'm working with some car companies right now with the campaign. And so it became just a much bigger thing. And so the documentary essentially covers kind of what the Buckle Up movement was, how much it kind of permeated, the Ohio State community, but also society at large. And then also kind of my perspective on the season and how it went and the ups and downs of the season, which is why you buckle up, right? Because, the ride potentially can be bumpy, and, there's no guarantee that you're going to get there without some bumps and bruises, but we will get there.
Right.
And then there's also a parallel to, my life and how, my life has also gone as well, right? And there was a parallel between my life and even the rise and success of Buckle Up, how it happened, and then Ohio State season. So there's some parallels there. And so I have a couple players that were on the team this year, Lathan Ransom and Denzel Burke. They're in the documentary. They did interviews for it. 2014 captain Curtis Grant, he did it. He's in the documentary as well, talking about Juice. And you'll see Urban Meyer, Shelly Meyer, Chris Carter. I mean, so it's
gonna be
pretty
cool.
star-studded documentary. So super excited about it. It's coming out officially. It will be out on June 16th on my YouTube. We'll be doing some premieres and some other kind of private events before that. So I'm just so excited because it gives me a chance finally to tell my story, right? And that was part of this as well, is that I think a lot of people know me or about me, or have heard my name, or they know bits and pieces about me or whatever, but they've never been able to kind of see the whole picture be painted in kind of one thing. And so this gives me an opportunity to do that. So
I'm excited. I just know it's going to be dope because you just have that light about you. And I feel like you're a storyteller.
Definitely.
Like your music, you story tell. I took some time to like sit down and just kind of listen, and you tell stories. Even
Yeah.
in anthems, there's stories being told. So with
That's it.
that, what did you discover about yourself, or what did you learn or maybe rediscovered while producing this documentary?
Such a great question. It is. So what this actually forced me to do was to go back into my life. The first kind of act of the documentary, like a 50-minute film.
Mm-hmm.
The first act, 10, 12 minutes, is really just me going through kind of the early parts of my life. And so it forced me to go back to VHS tapes to go get them digitized to see what's there, right?
Right.
And, old pictures and albums. And, my mom has helped me pull out stuff. And we're sharing pictures amongst the family, and it really took me back to my childhood and
Mm-hmm.
realizing how I'm pretty much the same person I've always been. It's just I'm just an adult version of that person. I still have that joy and kid-like energy,
Mm-hmm.
but I still like being on stage. And so that was one of the things that I thought was amazing. And even as a father now,
Yes.
it made me more intentional about what I'm doing with my kids and realizing
Mm-hmm.
like, some of the videos and pictures I'm looking at from when I was a kid are the ages that my kids are now.
Yes.
And I'm just like, wow, these moments are impactful. These moments could
Mm-hmm.
really impact how they feel about themselves, their level of confidence, what they
Yes.
believe is possible, who they become, all of these things. And so I'm
Mm.
so grateful. One of the things that I think I really took was just gratefulness of having a family and a support system and just a freedom to kind of express and be myself. And ultimately that led me to become who I am today. So that was
Mm.
just an amazing journey, just going back and seeing,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is what life was like. And this is why I am, or at least partially why I am who I am today.
Oh, that's dope. I'm so excited. Like I just know when I get to watch the film, I'm gonna see this smile because you have such an infectious smile, and I just know
Yeah.
when I see these photos, I'm like, there's a
Oh, yeah.
smile because I see that
Yes, for
smile.
sure. You will see
Yes.
it early and often. I've always been a smiler. It's just who I've always been. So it was for me, it was very nostalgic. And in a lot of ways, um, it was one of the most important parts for me,
Mm-hmm.
or powerful parts for me to even do this film. Really, it's like, yes, I want it to come out. It's going to be amazing. It is already done, and it is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But even to just have that documented kind of in a way that hasn't been documented before, to be forced to go back and do
Yeah.
that work, I think was a very huge benefit as well.
Sounds like therapy almost. So I like
Yes.
it. I like it. We're going to
Yeah.
shift to this last portion a bit, just because, you do have a legal background and this is impact play. And I'm interested. And so I want to talk about NIL a little bit. You mentioned it a little bit. And it's changed the landscape of things.
Yeah.
Not just financially, but how student athletes view themselves and their brands.
Mhm.
And so, how do you see NIL shifting college athletes to maybe being able to impact their communities a little earlier?
Yeah. So I have a lot of thoughts on NIL. I think overall, I think it's a positive thing, that athletes are able to be compensated for their likeness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that the universities have been able to hide behind NIL a little bit, to not have to share their revenue, which that's
Mm-hmm.
coming. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I do think that there's also a propaganda war that's excuse me, a propaganda war that's happening around NIL in terms of
Mm.
how it's actually being used and dispersed and what it actually means for a college player. I think now,
Mm-hmm.
there are people that are trying to, how do I say this? Make it, not everybody in college sports is getting a huge NIL check,
That's true.
right? You hear about the big ones a lot.
Yes.
And I think that's done intentionally
Yes.
to kind of pollute people's minds, but there's still a lot of inequality
Yeah.
as it relates to NIL and
Mm-hmm.
how it's being dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think I just want to at least start with that. I
Yes.
think how it's being administered, I think there need to be some rules and guardrails and a clear understanding of how it's being administered.
Mm.
So not only the athlete knows, but everybody around
Everyone
the
them
sport
knows.
knows
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then there has to be education in terms of what does it mean? What do these contracts actually mean? What am I signing?
Yeah.
Um, what do I owe back if I leave? When am I supposed to get these checks? What benchmarks do I need to hit to actually, receive certain funds, the taxes and the implications around that.
Taxes.
So there's a lot of that
Yeah.
too. So I'm sorry to like preface
No,
all
you're
to it.
good.
Yeah. But I think that's all of those things are important. Then finally, once you get to the actual money, right? And this is the argument that's always been kind of around this, is that you have all of these other people, from coaches and athletic directors and trainers and administrators and all these people around the sport, not to mention broadcasters and,
Right.
brands who are getting rich and generating wealth off of this sport.
Yes.
And what they're able to do individually for themselves, but also for their families. And then, as you said, their communities has been exponential, right? When you're talking about that type of money, millions and millions of dollars, whether it's charities or starting businesses or employing people or whatever.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I think when you're talking about this level of money being dispersed in the community, it allows a number of different things to happen. People can start foundations, right? They can, start businesses. They can employ people. They can employ family members.
Right.
They can set up accounts and trusts and, life insurance policies and, investments and so many different things that allow them to grow individually with their family and beyond in the community. That's just what money does, right? So we can dance around it all we want, but that's what money gives you the ability to do. And then not to mention, you have a lot of kids who, and not everyone, because that's also the narrative, but you have a lot of kids who come from certain, lower income environments who have the ability to really change, change the lives of people around them, right? And gives them access to do that. I had a lot of friends when I played who had visions of doing stuff like that, but they just didn't have the money. They didn't have the funds. So, and then they would go back to their communities on spring break or whatever.
Yeah.
These big stars, but they have no money.
Nothing
They couldn't do anything. So I think that's the other thing, is that it just allows for just so many different opportunities. And then it also allows for education, right, in the communities as well. Creating more people with more money, who understand taxes, who understand that life, being able to educate kind of the next generation as well. So I think right now you're seeing that there's a big educational aspect to this.
Yes.
Some of it's being missed, but some of the people are starting to hit on it, right? Even parents are now starting to, they have to get more involved and take responsibility for that as well. So the trickle down effect, into the community, I think anytime there's kind of a financial windfall, it can be dangerous as well. So let's not.
Yeah. Call a spade a spade. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be very dangerous. And these kids can now become targets that, and all that type of stuff as well. But it does allow for greater financial opportunities to build in the communities as well. So I'm excited about it. And one of the reasons why I kind of stay close to young athletes without necessarily being in business with them.
Yes.
Is that I want to be a resource for them as they navigate this, because, the sharks and the vultures, they are circling. They are circling. I hear about some of the deals that are being offered. People coming in, taking 10, 15% of a deal that's pretty much already done and negotiated. Like there's a lot of that happening. False promises from different entities. You don't know who you're dealing with. It might be a coach that said something and then you agree, and then later on it was like nope. So there's a lot of that happening too. So there's a downside to it as well, which is that we need to protect our young guys, and but there's also the upside, obviously, as you mentioned, that as well.
I hope that the parameters are put in place to protect our young people. Again, like dealing with some of my clients, a lot of them have been scarred. They have a lot of trauma because people have burned them. And so now, it's trickling down to our young people, right? With NIL, and I always tell you, they're not done cooking yet, right? They have to have good people around them to protect them. And you would think that, the schools are the entities to protect them, and that's not necessarily always the case. And anytime we're talking about financial distribution of finances or wealth, disparity is going to come into play, and discrimination amongst where that goes comes into play. So it's just such an interesting time in
Yeah.
college sports,
Yeah.
because it could, again, like you say, be a very positive thing, but it's also the negative parts. And are we going to protect our young people?
Well, and that's the other thing, is that the interests of everybody who is involved, almost none of them are aligned, right? And
Right.
so that's the other thing that's scary. It's like the coach's interest, the players' interests are not really aligned necessarily. In some
Mm-hmm.
ways they are,
Mm-hmm.
but in a lot of ways they're not, right? The university's interest and the athlete's interests aren't necessarily the same. The broadcaster's interest and the athlete's interests aren't necessarily the same.
Mm-hmm.
Even the corporations, their interests aren't necessarily the same. There could be a meeting of the minds,
Good.
but it's not necessarily the same. And it's not necessarily the same, even if it's the same for Jeremiah Smith, it's not necessarily the same for the fourth wide receiver.
Correct. Right.
So that's the other thing too, is that there are going to be some hard lessons that these young kids are going to learn early about business, right? About capitalism, about how these things play out in the real world, and finding your own team, right? Because theoretically, your team would be, oh, I just talked to Ohio State, I talked to my coach.
No.
You need your own team, your own lawyers, your own accountants, your own marketers, negotiators. You need all of that, and so there's an ecosystem that's being built.
Yes.
And nobody's really teaching them how to manage that, right? It's like being a child star, right?
Yes.
And now you're actually being paid for it. So people like us, we have to stay close.
Yes.
Even if we don't get involved in their affairs, but just even as mentors or workshops or podcasts, right, about it, and being resources for them, because this could get really ugly.
It can, and that's the reason why I was like, hey, I got to take this opportunity to speak to my brains over here. Why have you on the line? Because I know this is just such. I don't know. I just know we need to buckle up. That's what literally, I hate to even use it like that, but we got to buckle up, because I just think it's going to be an interesting ride. And I do believe that we need to stay close and not silent about the good pieces and the other pieces about it that could not be, be not as good as others. All right. 100%. So again, I thank you. I feel like you have a blueprint that others could tweak and make their own. I love the word intentional for our conversation, not just for athletes, but just anyone that is making these different transitions through life, and valuing relationships and looking at their team and support system around them. Being resolute. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure that people know where they can connect with you. Okay. Sure. So I want you to let them know how to connect with you, where to stream, how to support the documentary, how to get their hands on the playbook. We didn't even get the chance to talk about it. So let's stop there really quick. You have Buckle Up, the playbook, 5 winning plays for go-getters. Oh my gosh, we didn't even get to touch on that. And the foreword by Gene Smith. Tell me a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Sure. So Buckle Up, the playbook, 5 winning plays for go-getters is my new book coming out June 9th on Amazon. It is, in line with, the consistent buckle up theme, as you'll continue to hear from me in terms of just kind of being ready for what's coming. But the playbook was inspired by things that have helped me kind of overcome self-doubt, continue to dream, and things that have helped me kind of become successful, and kind of defining what success is for myself against all odds, really, right? And against the kind of the whims and will of the public and society, and how they view things and how they kind of force things down our throats, and breaking free of that. And people have asked me for a long time to kind of just talk about it or get my perspective on it. And so I finally decided to write it into a book. It's a short playbook, but something that I think is very, very impactful. Gene Smith did the foreword, as I mentioned, which has been exceptional, and just just it documents a lot of the things so each play kind of, just like the first play, I'll just tell you, one of them is be where the action is, right? Okay. That is something that has been so important for me in my life, is just being intentional about being where the action is being in the places, finding myself in the places where the things that I want to do, where are they happening? That was the
Right.
reason why I moved to New York 2
Mm-hmm.
weeks after I graduated from Ohio State, because that's where the action was as it related to the entertainment industry and
Yeah.
all of the different things and people that I've met, from Nas to Jay-Z to, Wu-Tang to whoever, happened as a result of me being
Where it was.
where the action is.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the type of things that I talk about in the book. I give the play, and then I also give some, real life experiences that have happened to me or other people
Mm-hmm.
that kind of
Mm-hmm.
talk about the play. So I'm so excited about it because I feel like, it gives me a chance to tell my story and to give tips in a condensed version.
Mm-hmm.
That I think, people have been asking me about for a long period of time, and it's motivational, but it's also very action oriented. So after each play, at the end of each play, there's an action step that you can actually do,
Mm-hmm.
specifically go do, that will help you kind of run this play, so to
Right.
speak. So it's not like me just saying, "Hey, this is what you do." It's like, no, this is exactly, here are some exact steps to get you toward that goal. And I think that that's one of the things that's missing sometimes when people talk about stuff. I
Yes.
think you've reached a certain level of success, you say things as if they're just normal to you,
Yes. Yes.
but to other people, they're not. They still need, okay,
Do all
how
that.
did you get to ESPN? How did you, they need the steps before the steps. And so that's part of what this book is going to be about. So the ebook, if you're a Kindle person, is available for pre-order right now on Amazon.com. And but the ebook and the paperback version will be available June 9th on Amazon. Buckle up the playbook. So excited.
I want my copy signed.
For sure. For sure. You will.
Okay.
You will have one.
All right. Well, tell the people where they can connect with you and stream and support you and get their hands on playbook and everything else.
Sure. So Mekka Don Music, Mekkadon Music. That is my handle for pretty much everything, whether you're on Twitter or Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever. So Mekka Don Music. If you're, have Spotify or Apple Music, you can look me up, Mekka Don, Tidal, wherever you listen to your music, Mekka Don. You can check out my music. YouTube, definitely subscribe to my YouTube, which is youtube.com/Mekka Don Music.
Gotcha.
That is where my documentary will be released June 16th. We'll be doing some fun stuff, some giveaways, some live streaming, some other cool stuff on there as well. Some interviews. You'll see all that type of stuff on my YouTube. And then for the book, again, that will be available on Amazon on June 9th. Buckle up the playbook. As I mentioned, if you're an ebook person, you can pre-order the Kindle version of it right now. But that'll be out on June 9th on Amazon. So check me out and hit me up.
All right, hit him up now. Make sure you get over to his website, and I will link all his information in the notes for this episode as well. Before you leave out, what is one winning play you want to leave our listeners with today?
I would say dream. Play number 5 is dream. It's just simply dream. And basically what that means is, if you can't see it, if you don't believe that it's real, it will never happen for you. And so you have to allow yourself to dream and actually see things, see the life that you want before it can become real. And don't let society tell you that the dream is too big or too unrealistic. Everybody who's achieved something great has had an unrealistic, quote unquote, dream. So allow yourself to dream and allow yourself to see things. And that's the beginning step to be able to go and really try to execute and find your way to that goal.
All right. Well, that's it for today's episode of Impact Play. Thank you so much, Mekka, for coming on to the show and inspiring us and getting deep with us a little bit, too. So I'm excited to hear the feedback from our listeners, and hopefully maybe we'll have you back on again. But until next time, I want everyone to make a significant impact each day, and I'll see you all later.